Ever since Jonathan Smith left for Michigan State, things have not gone well for either him nor his alma mater, Oregon State. The Beavers were basically left for dead by their former head coach, as well as their former Pac-12 conference members. Oregon State and Washington State were forced to pick up the scraps left behind Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington, Stanford, Cal, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. While things have not gone great for the Beavers, they could be turning it around soon though. This is the fall of Oregon State football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what your favorite coaching hire has been this process in the comment section below. Oregon State football has never been a truly premier program. They have won conference title since 1965, when they won a share of the Pac-10 led by Dennis Erickson and quarterback Jonathan Smith. Mike Riley found some success going 93-80 across two stints. Gary Anderson was a complete disaster going 7-27 with interim head coach Corey Hall going 0-6, but then came Jonathan Smith, the same guy who played quarterback for their 2000 Pac-10 conference title winning team. Smith brought hope back to the program that did not have a lot of hope. While Smith would go 34-35 during his time at Oregon State, he turned a team that was 1-11 before his arrival up to a 10-3 squad in 2022. At one point, Oregon State was battling for a college football playoff spot, but then following the 2023 season, Smith would bolt for Michigan State. At the time, Oregon State was viewed as a sinking ship. The Pac-12 conference had basically dissolved with 10 members splitting between the Big Ten, Big 12, and ACC during realignment, while Oregon State and Washington State were left behind to pick up the pieces and salvage what they had left. Many thought Smith was going to be a Beaver lifer, and it left the program heartbroken. It truly sent the message that Oregon State was a sinking ship, and it was going to be a tough recovery mission. Karma is a funny thing, as Smith would be fired earlier this week after going 9-15 in 2 seasons with Michigan State. Things would not be much better for the Beavers though, if we are being honest. They would promote defense coordinator Trent Bray to be the school's next head coach, which hindsight being 2020 was a disaster of a move. This was a safe move as Bray played for Oregon State and spent most of his coaching career with the Beavers. That coaching career dates back to 2008 when he was named a grad assistant at Arizona State before joining the California Redwoods of the original UFL in 2009 to be their linebacker coach. He then returned to Arizona State to serve the same role before returning to Oregon State in 2012. In 2015, he followed Mike Riley to Nebraska but returned to Oregon State in 2018. He was named defensive coordinator in 2022. The first season under Bray would not be a complete disaster as they would go 5-7, beating Idaho State, San Diego State, Purdue, Colorado State in double overtime, and Washington State. The season looked promising as they started off 4-1, with their lone loss coming to Oregon, but losing 6 of the last 7 games against Nevada, UNLV, Cal, San Jose State, Air Force, and Boise State would cause them to miss a bowl game. The team was confusing because they would either lose by 1 score or get blown out, and there really was no in-between. The hiring of Bray did not look bad up to that point though. The rough end to the season did suck though. What did Bray in was their 0-7 start to the 2025 season. They opened up the season with a 34-15 loss to Cal before falling to Fresno State 36-27. Then they would be blown out by Texas Tech and Oregon, followed by a heartbreaking loss to Houston and App State. The game that did it in for Bray was their 39-14 loss to Wake Forest at home. Bray would lose 13 of his last 14 games as head coach. It looked like he had plugged the hole in the sinking ship through his first 5 games, surviving the departure of Aiden Childs, Damian Martinez, and Silas Bolden, as well as secondary coach Blue Adams, offensive line coach Jim Michalezik, offense coordinator Brian Lindgren, and tight ends coach Brian Wozniak. But then when the losing started on the field, he could not stop things, and it only got worse with the mishandling of a domestic violence case by a player over the summer. After the Wake Forest game, Bray told the media, "I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, I look at myself and I've got to fix it. It's unacceptable to me where we're at. That's just how I look at it. What can I do? I've got to look at it. What can I do differently to get these guys going?" It was a brutal ending for someone who bled Oregon State through and through. Rob Akey would be named the interim head coach and led the Beavers to their only 2 wins of the season, beating Lafayette 45-13 and Washington State 10-7. But after a brutal loss at home to 0-8 Sam Houston 21-17, the Beavers truly hit rock bottom. It would finish the season being blown out by Tulsa and Washington State to go 2-10. It was a heartbreaking season, but at least they won 2 games because at one point, that didn't seem likely. Names mentioned by the media to take over at Oregon State's next head coach included Ed Ogeron, Paul Chryst, Andy Avalos, Brendan Marion, Jonathan Smith, and Brent Vigen. Vigen would choose to stay at Montana State according to On3, and North Dakota State head coach Tim Polasek would sign a contract extension with the Bison. The job would eventually go to Jamarcus Shepard. There's a chance Hope may be returning to Oregon State football with the hire of Jamarcus Shepard. Shepard is originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and played wide receiver at DePaul. Following his playing career, he worked as an assistant for Northrop High School and Broad Ripple High School, while also serving in a role with the NCAA's Educational Service Division. He also served as an assistant for DePaul's track and field team in a volunteer role. Did not look like a full-time coaching career was in the cards for him, as he worked for the National Center for Drug-Free Sports before joining Willie Taggart's coaching staff at Western Kentucky in a volunteer role. When Taggart left to take the South Florida job, Shepard chose to stay working under Bobby Petrino, eventually being named the wide receivers coach in 2014 and special teams coach in 2015 under Jeff Brom. He had the opportunity to be Western Kentucky's offensive coordinator in 2016, but chose to join Mike Leach's staff at Washington State, serving as an inside wide receivers coach. In 2017, he reunited with Brom at Purdue, where he was eventually named co-offensive coordinator in 2018. In 2022, he joined Kalen DeBoer's staff as an assistant head coach, pass game coordinator, and wide receivers coach, and followed DeBoer to Alabama in 2024, where he added the role of co-offensive coordinator. Then came the opportunity of a lifetime, the opportunity to become a head coach at Oregon State. He would open his introductory press conference by looking at his 4-year-old daughter and saying, "I can truly say I'm honored to be your father, because you jump into my arms every single day." Then he thanked his 12-year-old daughter for helping him prep with his mock interview, and his other child, 14-year-old Jalen, for telling him that he wants to grow up to be like him. Oregon State fans knew they got their guy, a family man who oozed authenticity and hope, the man the Beavers needed in a time of despair. He exclaimed at his press conference, "We want to achieve excellence in everything we do, because I believe this. How you do anything is how you do everything." Bill Oram from Oregon Live wrote, "Shepard is energetic, charismatic, and determined. He will inspire players and fans. He will sell OSU to recruits. If Shepard proves to be the star Barnes believes him to be, if he is as adept at winning games as he is winning press conferences, then OSU will not be his last stop. Given the annual turnover throughout this silly and delusional sport, there will be openings at larger programs that should appeal to Shepard. Losing their new coach means that the Beavers have won. They could have been safe by hiring former Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst or Montana State head coach Brent Vigen, but they took a risk on a guy who has learned from some pretty good coaches in the past. They went the opposite from what they did when they hired Bray, and when you take a risk, it can pay off big. This hire was an under-the-radar hire that could pay off big time, or it could flame out. At least the Beavers went out and tried to take a step forward to recover after the disaster that has been the last few years. What do you think? Can Jamarcus Shepard help revive the Oregon State football program? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.